The Michael Berry Show.
Harley Belew is the GM of Hill Country Patriot, our affiliate in Kerrville. He's also the morning show host. We waited on him to finish his morning show to have him on the show today. And they are the anchor of Kerrville. And you can imagine what they're dealing with right now. Harley, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks for having me on.
And
it's been a busy time since 4th of July started.
I can only imagine. Some folks may remember Harley. He was with KILT, KSBJ, and KLDE from almost the entirety of the 80s. So welcome to your home audience, Harley. Tell me when you realized there was a real problem. About what time is that? Friday through the night, Saturday morning, and then kind of take us through the whirlwind that has been your life since then.
Okay, so Friday morning I got up to go on the air. Now, where I live in the Hill Country, you have a lot of low water crossings. I have about 7 of them, and I drive through a neighbor's ranch to get to work. And so it's a rural area. And when I got to the first low water crossing, and it was much higher than I expected, I knew it had been raining through the night, but we didn't know we were getting that kind of rain. It didn't sound like it. So I had to stay. I couldn't get into town, so I had to remote in and run things from here. Same thing happened for my news lady, AC Cantu. She had to remote in. She lives in the Comfort area. She couldn't get out. So now we're trying to run a morning show and keep people updated and do it remotely. So thank God for technology. And then we had a technical problem because something went down, and it was just it was one thing after another. And then we found out, I don't know what time, it's all kind of a blur, what time we found out that the flooding was bad enough that people got trapped in it. And then that was the focus of the rest of the day and since then. So the death count last report last night was 68, a total of around 80 for the entire, from all the flooding in our area. So national news, you'll hear them reporting, I think 80 right now, and it's 68 for us here. I spoke with my daughter yesterday. She had been out and doing search and rescue. She has experience with it, so she went out and was just talking about how there are some people, they want to help, they don't know what to do. They show up, they're in flip-flops and shorts, and they got to be sent back home. So there's plenty of people like that that can make sandwiches or distribute food or that kind of thing. But if you actually know how to run a chainsaw, if you've ever done search and rescue before, then you can be put to, and if you have a skid steer or anything like that, then they have jobs for you. But the looky-loos and that sort of thing, that's not helpful. So there's been a little of that because people are naturally curious. They want to go out and look and see what the damage has been. I was driving down a road in town yesterday, just going across town. I wasn't doing looking for damage. You can't avoid it. But I see a cow, and right there in a neighborhood that got swept up, and it's laying in the sun bloating. So you find odd objects all over the place that have swept up by the river, and it's gotten higher than I've ever seen. There are huge cypress trees here all along the river in the Hill Country. You know that, Michael. You've spent time here. They're stripped down like they're cedar posts getting ready to be used. So it's not like anything I've ever seen. And we've been here a long time. All of our kids were raised here, and so it's unlike anything we've seen. The campers, most of those children are from out of town and out of state, many of them. So we don't know any of them. But there are a lot of locals that were killed too. And there's one lady that's just gone around taking pictures of vehicles in trees and up on the bank and getting license plates so she can post those, and many of them out of state. So people come to the Hill Country from all over for recreation on our river. This river is a blessing and a curse at times. There are 2 organizations I wanted to mention, Michael, that are being, people are wondering how can I help from Houston. There's the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country. that's a reliable local group that's been around a long time, and they will make sure that the money is distributed properly in the community. And there's another one. This one's sad. It's Transformation Church, and they're helping with funeral expenses. So there's going to be funerals. There have been one of the grim realities of all this is that there are refrigerator trucks that have had to come in at the funeral homes. So there's going to be a lot of funerals. Some of them will be back home where these children are from. Some of them will be here local. So the Transformation Church, online, you go to Find Transformation Church, and then there's a donation place there for funeral expenses. And the other one, again, is Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country. I think our friends, Clay and Buck, have posted that one, too, on their website. So
I did see that.
Hopefully that'll help. Yeah, and I really appreciate you having me on to talk about this. And we love you here, by the way, Michael.
Thank you. Harley Belew is Hill Country Patriot radio station, our home in the Hill Country. Harley, I got about a minute in this segment. I'm hoping you'll stay around with me. I know you just finished a show, and I know you're exhausted, but let's talk about the recovery in that community, because when all this is done, businesses have been devastated.
Yeah. There's a lot to be done. It starts with shoveling out mud.
It's I saw a fella. I don't know how far you are from the Hunt store, but apparently it's quite a beacon in that region. And there was a fella that he just comes there every day, and I don't know if that's the only thing he's got right there in Hunt, but he was emotionally devastated over this kind of connection of the community, and it is gone. I mean, the whole side of the building.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, the human toll is much more prescient and poignant right now, but long term, the effects on the community, it is going to be dramatic. You know, it's amazing. We made it through Harvey, and I couldn't imagine that we did at the time. We were swept out of our house, but there was so much devastation. And if you drive around today, most parts of Houston, you wouldn't know it ever happened. We are a resilient people. That is for sure. We are a very, very resilient people. Harley, if you can hold with me for just a moment, I'd like to keep you for one more segment. Harley Belew is morning show host and general manager of Hill Country Patriot, our affiliate in Kerrville, Texas. Harley, just watching, I mean, my primary connection to this was all the kids of families that we know here in Houston that were at Camp Mystic and Camp La Junta and have such a connection there. But what I have not heard as much about is the local communities. I understand most of the loss of life and missing persons are related to the camp, but what is the local toll?
We don't even know. We're not sure. I talked to a friend of mine, Rob Henneke, today, and he was saying that they had a family friend that had died in it. We don't talk about names on the air if the rest of the family hadn't been notified. So
right.
I don't know, Michael. To be honest, I don't know.
Is he part of the Henneke family that does does ponds and the fishes and the fish?
Well, he's the executive director of the Texas Public Policy Foundation. I talked to him. He's from here, so I talk to him every Monday.
Okay.
So it was less about Texas politics and all about Kerr County and him growing up here. And you mentioned the Hunt store earlier. The Hunt store and the Methodist Church, the Hunt Methodist Church, are really the two touchstones for that community. It's a pretty tight-knit community. There are a lot of people that come here from Houston, a lot of them, and they have weekend homes, summer homes. But the people that are there all year long, they gather at the Hunt store, and things are, the school and the Methodist Church, and the volunteer fire department. So they're taking care of each other, but honestly, they're cut off from everybody.
Hmm.
The way to get to them is Highway 39 through Kerrville, Ingram, and then on up. And DPS is not letting anybody in if you don't reside there or have emergency equipment or need to be there. So they're cut off from everyone, but they kind of live that way anyway, so
right.
They're okay because they're far enough out they depend on each other. And the Hunt store has been a landmark for years. It's one of those kind of places when you're in the area, you go by and see it and tell people you've been at the Hunt store.
Right.
And it's it's gone now. It may not be anything but the chimney later.
Wow.
But,
One
but
of
the
the
way people are.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Harvey.
I was going to say that downtown. I was downtown Saturday night, and it was quiet. There was a lot of sadness hanging in the air. There's a little ice cream shop there that hadn't been there long, and I went in. There's a young couple there. They had been the streets blocked off. They brought in the buses for the reunification with parents and their children. Those folks that own that little ice cream parlor, they got themselves down there at 6 o'clock in the morning to make sure they had stuff baked and ready to eat and coffee for those families. And that's the kind of attitude everybody's had in this community. Nobody in a uniform from Comal County or Kendall County or Harris County or any place else is going to pay for their meal in a restaurant. That's the restaurant policy, and if somebody slips past you, some local is going to buy your meal. That's the way it's working here. So if even the people that can't go out and comb the riverbanks and look and search or cut down trees, they're helping to pay for things. Our local Gibson store stayed open late the other night just so people could come in there and sit on the camping chairs if they needed to.
Wow.
So that's the way things are going here.
One of the things that's been talked about is that the joy of the camp is you don't have your cell phone. Connect with human beings, connect with nature, pray, read your Bible, interact. But I've also read that the area is not particularly, that's not something that is a focus, and that telecommunication there is difficult. So that's made it a little harder as well, and maybe by design. People don't want to be connected by a cell phone at all times. Your thoughts on that?
Right. Well, cell phone connections are difficult. I found a Suburban upside down in the creek one time, and I had to go up on top of a hill to make my 911 call. You can't just, and that was not in this incident. That was something else unrelated. Okay. But you can't just make a cell from where you're standing. You got to get, everybody around here knows which hill you go to. If you live in that area, you know how far up the hill you got to go to get a cell signal. And some places you can't. There's no such thing as DSL where I live. So there's no internet where I live. So there's a lot of people out here like that. And it is a good place, as you say, to come if you want to get away from all of that. And but if you need to stay connected, it's not easy. The people when I was a county commissioner, Michael, we discussed having an early alert system in the river along up in the area that flooded, because it's always been needed. And the real problem, the holdback there, was that we didn't have enough cell towers that would reach those areas. So that idea was scrapped. If we had that, if we had good cell service and good Wi-Fi, we could connect with the higher tech methods that are in place in some places. And then there's the expense of it in a county like ours. We have a low population and don't have a big budget. I think that'll change with this. I don't know what'll come of it. I shudder to think that the, quote, best minds are going to be put on this, because then there's God only knows what's going to happen, what kind of government waste we might get going into an alert system. They always say that a camel is a horse designed by committee.
Mm-hmm.
So I fear that may be what happens at the end of this. But if we can get any early alert system for the future, that'd give people some peace of mind here. So we're pulling together for the time being. There's a lot of cleanup. People are needed with shovels and brooms and Clorox and that sort of stuff, even if you can't go out and search and you don't have a chainsaw. There's plenty for people to do. Oh, and there's one more. The Riverside Church of Christ on Harper Road in Kerrville has everything, and I mean everything. These people have done a wonderful job. They just need to know who needs it. They've got all this stuff out. They'll get you a new house full of furniture if your house is still there.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you see in a moment like this. It's amazing. You see the real community leaders at a time like this who may not necessarily be in elected office. Harley Belew, thank you very much. Hill Country Patriot, we appreciate you.
Thank you, Michael.